Author Brian Brennan's Boondoggles, Bonanzas, and Other Alberta Stories tells stories of big events like the Frank Slide and lesser-known events as well. And he joins me this morning. Best-selling author. That must be kind of nice to hear, Brian.
That feels really good. Why don't you say it again, Dave?
Best-selling author joining me now is Brian Brennan with us here. And part of WordFest. We're so glad you came by. Thanks very much for being here. This is book number?
This is number 4.
Number 4. And someone said, ask about Father Lacombe's heart. Ask about that. What's that all about?
Father Lacombe's heart. Well, when Father Lacombe died, he said that he wanted his heart to be left with the Blackfoot people. And somebody, I guess, took him literally and actually removed the heart from the body.
Out.
Yeah, that's right. The body was buried someplace else, and then the heart was actually kept by the nuns, by the sisters, at what's the Father Lacombe home for many years. And a few people knew about it, but I mean, it wasn't on public display or anything. And about 10 years ago, it was quietly buried. But for the longest time, Father Lacombe's heart was actually at the Father Lacombe home south of Calgary. Yeah.
Isn't that wild? And of course, if anyone up in St. Albert area, Jerome McGill and company, they all know Father Lacombe. Who knew that he was buried without a heart for a while?
That's right.
Sarah Bernhardt, tell us about her.
That was a big deal. I mean, she was getting a little older. I mean, she was in her 60s when she came to Edmonton and Calgary in around 1913. But it was considered to be a major coup. I mean, the newspapers just went crazy. I mean, she was one of the biggest stars in the world. Yeah. And here she was performing live in Edmonton and Calgary.
Why did she come here?
She needed the money. Actually, so I guess some bad investments over the course of her life. So when she got to be in her 60s and 70s, she had to keep working because basically she couldn't afford to retire.
And isn't that wild? Now another one. This is, and the whole book, so you know at home, it's full of different like, how did you choose what stories are in here, Brian?
Well, there were, again, I sort of went from story to story as I generally do, and I had a little bit of a theme. I wanted to concentrate on some of the big scandals and also some of the great bonanzas, the great events, like the discovery of oil in Leduc, for example. And I had a few kind of leftover scoundrels and scallywags that I wanted to get in there as well. So,
what were some of your favorites, or ones that surprised you when you were doing your research?
Well, one of the surprises for me, for example, was the discovery that the Frank Slide. There's always been a lot of talk about the way that the mountain moved and that there was geological instability there. And I discovered that, in fact, it was uncontrolled mining that took place in Turtle Mountain that was really the cause of it. It had weakened the whole structure of the mountain, and that's what caused the mountain to move. Yeah, because there was no regulation, you see, in those days. The governments didn't want to get involved because, of course, mining was big business. Yeah. And so basically, they let the mining companies go in there and take as much coal out of the mountain as they wanted to, and so that was a little bit of a surprise.
Okay, the first heavier-than-air flight in Canada. Yeah. Tell us about that.
There were 3 brothers by the name of Underwood, and they had read about the Wright brothers. And they wanted to build their own airplane. Now, they didn't know very much about it. I mean, they just went out and they experimented. And eventually, they got this. It was really a kite, and it didn't have an engine in it. And it flew for about 15 minutes. One of them got aboard and went up there several feet in the air. Okay. And there was a rope tied to it. And but it never got into the record books because, you see, it wasn't a free flight and it didn't have an engine in it because it was a kite. They never got the
You know what we call that, Brian? We call that a boondoggle.
That's a boondoggle.
A boondoggle and bonanzas. If you want to go part of this, the Kickoff Cabaret is at the Uptown, and it's at October 15th, 9:30. That's a week and a bit. Wordfest.com is where you get more information. You're going to be also at Alberta Bound at the Art Gallery of Calgary as well, if you want to find people there. But there's all kinds of information on the website. They can find it where you're going to be.
I'm one of the 65 famous authors that are going to be there.
As you should be. Thank you so much for being here. Brian Brennan, Boondoggles, Bonanzas, and Other Alberta Stories. We're going for a break, and when we come back, we're going to take a look at some great music for you, some Afro, some Cuban.